Good morning. What is up? Welcome. It is September 17th, all day long. Today's episode that we're kicking off with is Charlie Kirk and Kash Patel. Prove me wrong. It is a call-in show. We're going to be playing stuff. I'll be taking calls by clicking on the link. So welcome. At some point, you're going to have an opinion about this video. Thumbs it up or thumbs it down. Make yourself known.
And what was Comey's motive? Same as the senator from California. To sabotage and undermine President Trump's first term.
Kash Patel being questioned about a lot of things at Capitol Hill.
And we know that Mr. Comey's not been shy about what his objective was. In fact, 4 months ago, he told us. Remember this?
It's been my position at the FBI in terms of investigations. They've not been truthful. And in fact, they've knowingly, omitted information, lied in a case that we were covering for almost 3 years now. So, of course, I have interest in the FBI Director Patel testifying at the House Judiciary Committee. We should all
8647
want to know about it.
Comey told us just 4 months ago. Now, how'd they do it? How did the former chair of the intel community, the former FBI director, and others in our government attempt to undermine President Trump's first term? 7 weeks ago, because of the good work of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, we learned from another whistleblower, a second whistleblower, that in the closing days of the Obama administration, the intelligence community assessment was changed.
All right, today's episode is Prove Me Wrong. And I want you to prove me wrong, in honor of Charlie Kirk here. I want you to prove me wrong by telling me how the text messages are not staged. These text messages cannot be the picture. I just don't believe it based on logic and reasoning, as well as the government not telling us the timestamps of the text messages.
On December 5th, 2016, they had one assessment. That assessment said Russia did not impact the election vote count. There was a meeting at the White House on December 9th, 2016, where it was decided, no, we're not going to have that. We're going to come up with a new one. And the new one said Russia was trying to influence election and did influence election, which just wasn't accurate. And that new one is published on January 6, 2017. Let's just show you a few things that took place. I want to show you first this email from Admiral Rogers, the head of the NSA. You can see it was December 22nd. It says to Jim, John, and Jim Clapper,
Epstein. And I welcome the challenge.
Okay, so we're going to go to something that I want to hear, which is
women of the FBI. If you want to criticize, we immediately the next day released images.
Work to the mall,
right,
wherever they appeared.
Hold on. Right there.
Refused to hire women, African Americans, and other minorities as agents. And although he was a closeted homosexual who lived in domestic partnership for decades with Clyde Tolson, he also participated in anti-gay crusades. He aggressively promoted what we would today call white Christian nationalism. And he would undoubtedly be turning over in his grave to see as one of his successors a first-generation Indian American and a proud Hindu. So I congratulate you on being a breakthrough in this sense and being a beneficiary of the civil rights movement that opened up the FBI and the federal workforce to lots of people who never would have been hired in its first decades. Alas, you share J. Edgar Hoover's dangerous obsession with blind loyalty over professionalism and effective public policy. For Hoover, it was blind loyalty to him in keeping his secrets. For you, it's blind loyalty to Donald Trump in keeping his secrets. During your confirmation, it was widely noted on all sides that your primary qualification was your unwavering loyalty to Trump. Unlike other directors, you had no work experience at the FBI, but you had made over 1,000 media and political appearances in support of Trump's campaign. Your Senate confirmation vote was 51-49, the closest in history, with your opponents warning you were not qualified and had no interest in actually developing the qualifications for the job. I hoped that they were wrong. Alas, they were not. While most other new FBI directors drew on their experience as FBI agents, you didn't have that. But you did write a picture book trilogy for children ages 5 and up based on your experience clashing with President Trump's political enemies. In
Look at that book.
You describe your literary alter ego, Cash the Knight, as a wacky, easily bored wizard carrying out King Donald's vengeance by driving his enemies out of the kingdom. In the books, King Donald is besieged by the evil Hillary Queentown, but saved in the end by Cash. Then Cash goes on to catch mules who are stealing the 2020 election for the great King Donald from Sleepy Joe.
You.
And then in the third book, Cash takes down the dragon of the jalapenos, nicknamed the DOJ. Your supporters had hoped that you would graduate from imagining yourself a romantic fairy tale knight to actually running America's premier federal law enforcement agency. Alas, just as we've learned how dangerous it is to put a science-denying anti-vaxxer in charge of our public health, we've learned how dangerous it is to name as director of the FBI a man who thinks of himself as a fairy tale knight who keeps...
Welcome to Truth and Transparency. We're going to keep this show going today. Again, it is a prove me wrong type of a day in honor of Charlie. Prove me wrong that those text messages, so I did post the link. Go ahead, click on it. Come up. When I see somebody come in the back, I'll pause it. I'll let you speak your piece. Prove me wrong that those text messages, like, hey, there is nothing to see here. Okay. That those are just so all in order and that they make perfect sense. And tell me that they are not the work of, you guys have seen the Charlie Adelson case. Charlie Adelson called it out and said, dude, the way that this person is talking with the bump, this is how a person talks with police. Okay. Go look at the language used in the text messages, and that is such police language. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
The fire-breathing dragon named DOJ at home to forcibly drive villains out of the kingdom. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, while his killer was still on the loose, you decided you didn't need to be at FBI headquarters in Washington to work with your team while the chaotic manhunt unfolded. You spent your evening dining in a swanky Midtown Manhattan restaurant and tweeting out false information that the subject of the shooting was in custody, a statement you had to retract 1 hour later. Your performance was so disturbing that even the MAGA base was alarmed. Culture warrior Christopher Rufo, who just a few months ago sat in your chair as a Republican witness, observed that you performed terribly, and he called for your ouster. The FBI might be able to survive your delusions of grandeur and the explosively volatile temper that was on display yesterday in the Senate. But
look at what
the FBI might.
We would be wise to take a moment and ask whether Kash Patel and what it takes to get this done. I've been on the phone the last few days with many conservative leaders, and all of whom wholeheartedly support the Trump administration, and none of whom are confident that the current structure of the FBI is up to this task. Again, that was a million views.
Able to survive.
Look at this. I got Will Smith's brother to the left. Okay. We're going to come up with a name. I think this is Ashley Jennings's, older sister to the right. But all I can think about is the Karen Reed case when Liza Little is holding signs up, like big poster boards, and and Bev Canone is like, you're going to take that. No more.
Your delusions of grandeur and the explosively volatile temper that was on display yesterday in the Senate. But the
Ashley, there it
is that you are running the FBI not as a law enforcement agency charged with keeping the American people safe, but as a political enforcement agency working directly for the president's vengeance campaign. 7 months in, it's impossible to overstate the destruction, chaos, and demoralization you've brought to the FBI and its workforce and the resulting danger your actions have caused to our country. You've been systematically purging the FBI of its most experienced and qualified agents, division leaders, and experts in counterterror, counterintelligence, and cybersecurity, precisely the people who have the expertise you lack, in which the FBI and the country need. They've been expelled from the ranks of the Bureau.
So it's about to come up here soon. We get to talk about the Epstein files and stuff, because they use his own words, Kash Patel's own words from 2023. And they're like, here, we want you to listen to this clip. Here, we want you to listen to this clip. Okay, now you have what you were asking to be released in 2023. Why are you protecting pedophiles? All right. And I thought this was just like straight fire. Like nobody's holding back. Like this is what I want to see this. Okay. I want to hear this. I want to see the bullshit. I want to hear the bullshit. I want to hear the answers. I want to hear the word salad. Okay. Because I think the question posed, okay, now think about this. You prepare for this, right? And you have all these people working for you. You can get your hands on whatever. And you're like, go get me this. Go get me that. Go get me this. And we're just going to bombard, and show everything that's going on, right? And it's like, dude, you know how many public defenders would love to just be able to say, get me this and get me that? Yeah.
So simply because they did their duty investigating crimes, including those committed by the mob that attacked the Capitol on January 6, 2021, and beat the hell out of more than 140 police officers, or simply because you suspected them of being insufficiently loyal to Donald Trump. You illegally sacked Brian Driscoll, the former acting director of the Bureau and a decorated counterterrorism expert who worked at the FBI for nearly 20 years. According to Driscoll, you told him your own job, quote, depended on the removal of agents who worked on the cases against the president, regardless of whether the agents chose to work on those cases or not. You added, quote, the FBI tried to put the president in jail and he hasn't forgotten it. You forced out the leader of the Salt Lake City field office, Mehtab Saeed, just weeks before Charlie Kirk's assassination, depriving the FBI of an experienced counterterrorism expert described by her colleagues as absolutely the best and legendary. She would have led the FBI's manhunt had she not been fired. When Trump decided that rounding up immigrants with no criminal records
Here we go.
was more important than preventing crimes like human trafficking of women and girls, drug dealing, terrorism, and fraud, you ordered the 25 largest field offices to
All right, so then they go ahead and they take hey, these are the headlines. NBC News, FBI field office ordered to shift agents to immigration crackdown. The New York Times says that Trump's D.C. show of force diverts agents and prosecutors from casework.
Thousands of agents.
Trump's deportation divert FBI agents off the child predator cases.
From chasing down violent criminals, sex traffickers, fraudsters, and scammers to carry out this immigration crackdown.
Beverly Cannone says, take that board and shove it up your ass. There'll be no boards in my courtroom. There'll be no chalks. Okay? We are only using chalk to outline dead bodies. Are we all in agreement here? Otherwise, get out of my courtroom. That goes for you, Aiden Carney. Especially you, Aiden Carney.
Down. Director Patel, you treated the men and women at FBI with disrespect and paranoia. You've assembled a roving band of freelancing henchmen within your office and charged them with conducting unauthorized investigations, targeting and harassing career FBI employees. Amazingly, you forced senior leadership to repeatedly take polygraph tests to prove their political loyalty and pushed out leaders.
All right, so this is about political loyalty. We're not questioning about their work. We want to find out where their political loyalty lies. What?
Who refused.
I want to hear the response to this. Like, what?
These demeaning exercises. And now we're seeing one very clear.
Wouldn't the transcripts prove this? Where are the transcripts of this?
Reason.
See, that's my logic is like, I don't need hearsay. Just show me the transcripts of what type of questioning went on in a polygraph.
Build a political FBI. The Epstein files. You want an FBI blindly loyal to Trump and to you as his enforcer so you can continue your cover-up of a massive international sex trafficking ring with more than 1,000 victims, betraying all of the survivors of the sexual violence. Before you got in this job, you called for full release of Epstein files.
Yes.
Telling podcaster Benny Johnson that the only reason the
Benny
list was
and
not
the
released by DOJ and FBI was, quote, because of who's on that list.
Yes.
Upon your confirmation, you promised that, quote, There will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, no stone left unturned.
Yes, I remember all of this. Yes, 2023, baby. Everyone was like, we're going to get the Epstein files. In fact, me and Scott Roeder are going to be doing a huge rollout of Mangione, Epstein. We're going to go and I'm going to show people how you can actually talk about something and keep it about the topic.
And anyone from the prior or current bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. This spring, you ordered hundreds of agents to pore over all the Epstein files, but not to look for more clues about the money network or the network of human traffickers. You pulled these agents from their regular counterterrorism or drug trafficking duties to work around the clock, some of them sleeping at their desks, to conduct a frantic search to make sure Donald Trump's name and image were flagged and redacted wherever they appeared.
What? I cannot wait for this response,
Whether
you
an
guys.
email, a text, a letter, an interview, a photograph, or a video. In May, Attorney General Bondi reportedly told Trump that his name had indeed appeared multiple times throughout the Epstein files. And not long thereafter, in July, you and the Attorney General released a memo claiming that, quote, no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. In a few short months, how did you go from being a crusader for accountability and transparency for the Epstein files to being a part of the conspiracy and cover-up? The answer is simple. You said it yourself, because of who's on that list. Donald Trump's relationship with Epstein over the years is well documented. A week ago, the Oversight Committee released Trump's disturbing birthday book, Note to Epstein, written over a drawing of a woman's naked body, referring to a, quote, wonderful secret. The Oversight Committee obtained the note from the Epstein estate, not from the FBI.
Wait, in his signatures, her vagina hair, her pubic hair? Is that what Donald's signature is supposed to be there? That looks like a vagine.
Questions
it looks like a pubic wig, a merkin.
Again, of whether the FBI has been withholding documents. While you're unleashing the FBI,
look, I knew it.
To Trump's desire to shut down the Epstein inquiry, the first 9 months of the Trump presidency,
you guys,
of political violence,
order in this court.
Events. We saw deadly attacks on documents.
Oh my God! It isn't the merkin. Look at when it comes down.
FBI.
Oh my God! The signature is the vag. It's a fake. Trump is suing. I am so sick and tired of seeing that merkin. Do you see how fucking crazy that is? Like, he's showing J.E.B. Day book. Oh my God. I know, right? Anything goes. This is why we were watching this. Capitol Hill is literally on fire right now. When I say fire, I'm talking just like, we're talking shots. I have to just say, I think it's creative. I do. I think it's hilarious because it's like my mind is just like, oh my God, that's totally his signature, whether or not he did or not, right? Like it's not. But dude, come on. That would be on SNL. Would it not be on SNL? It would be on SNL.
Trump's desire to shut down the Epstein inquiry. The first 9 months of the Trump presidency have seen a spate of political violence and domestic terror events. We saw deadly attacks on political figures on both the left and the right. The brutal assassination of Minnesota Democratic House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the attempted murder of Democratic State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, who miraculously survived a combined 17 gunshots.
Oh my God, I have to stop. I thought you said, yes, Murky, good to see your vag. That's what I thought that said. And I had to say, oh my God. So I want everybody to know that I thought that said, yes, Murky, nice to see your vag. So Lana, you need to walk away from the screen. Okay.
An arsonist set Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence on fire. And of course, last week, we saw the horrific, cold-blooded assassination of Charlie Kirk in Utah that has shaken the nation.
It has.
1 minute after Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck,
what's up, Cammy?
A 16-year-old shooter in Evergreen, Colorado, radicalized by white supremacist ideology online, opened fire and critically wounded 2 other students at Evergreen High School. We've seen lethal anti-Semitic violence, including the murder of 2 young Israeli embassy staffers just blocks from the Capitol, and then in the attack on a gathering of Jewish people in support of hostages held in Gaza in Boulder in June. We've seen continued mass shootings at schools.
You know, I knew if there's a person out there was going to see it my way, it would have been Mary P. Mary P has been living in the Onion lately. Okay. And I knew that if somebody was to see the JJ or how's your vag or whatever with the vag, that's what I saw. And I knew Mary P would see it my way. Okay. Because Mary P has been seeing this way for the past couple weeks. And we've made note about it on the channel. And I effing love it. Okay. Love it. Mary P, we love you. The mods over here always just go above and beyond, and sometimes where no woman or man shall ever go. The JJ for life. You guys do know about, it's a long running joke here. They put out back in 2021 that if you wanted to mod for Lana, you had to send nudes. That's the only way that you could be a mod for me. And I sized you up by your nudes. Okay. And people push that out to the world. Dude, I had a 65-year-old woman, Sandy, losing her mind saying, "No, my God, none of this is true. I didn't send Lana my vag." And I'm like, I didn't fucking say that. Why are you coming at me? That's these fucking people. And I was, and Sandy's like, "What can you do about it? Can you sue them?" I said, "Sandy, it sounds like it's your vag that's floating around, not mine. They're saying that you have our vages." Can you imagine having a conversation with a 65-year-old woman that you hardly know that well? And she knows that she didn't send you her vag, and you know that you don't have her vag, right? And yet there's guys out there like Just Larry the Loser telling the glare this shit back in 2021. And I'm like, and you call your guys yourself true crime people? No, drama is your mama, baby. Drama is your mama. You know you need to run when guys are the drama.
Like the domestic terror incident at a Catholic school in Minneapolis last month, which killed 2 children and wounded 18 others. And in August, the man fired more than 500 bullets at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, killing a police officer who was a Marine veteran and a father. People like Melissa Hortman and Charlie Kirk should be able to participate in politics as elected officials or active citizens without being shot down in cold blood in the United States of America. People should also be able to go to elementary school, to middle school, to high school, to work, to the mall, and to church without being shot down in explosions of gun violence. The important position at the FBI requires a leader who puts public safety and national security and the rule of law first. I'm afraid, Director Patel, you've given us reason to believe you've used the powers of the FBI to serve Donald Trump and his agenda of partisan retribution. You've broken your promise not to do that. You've betrayed Jeffrey Epstein's victims and survivors. You've turned your back on the career law enforcement officers of the FBI. And as a result, you've left all of us less safe than before. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. That opening statement may have been longer than any book director's ever written or anyone else has written.
Okay, so that's what I was just going to say. Thank God he said it, because I'm like, dude, how am I supposed to write down everything that you've just said to me, and now I'm supposed to combat that? So those of you guys just joining us, welcome to the Transparency today. Today's episode is Charlie Kirk and Kash Patel Prove Me Wrong call-in show. I did link, the link is clicked, it's pinned. And the prove me wrong part comes in like this. Prove me wrong, because it is my position that the text messages are not in whole, are fabricated to the point that I don't believe that potentially either person wrote those, or they were being told what to write, or somebody wrote it for them. There's no timestamps. We have issues with what was released. And when I say we, Truth and Transparency, me, Lana Oriani, I have questions, and I'm saying, prove me wrong, bring it, and say, hey, this is why I think that it's on the up and up. This is why, they just, I know that it's like a probable cause. Okay. So you don't have to give all that you got, this isn't like Burger King, have it your way. No, they get to have it their way and put out what they want. And we just have to take it like Subway, eat fresh, eat it. So I'm saying that prove me wrong that this shit is on the up and up.
Without objection, all of the opening statements will be included in the record. We will now.
While we're doing that, I wanted to listen to the Capitol Hill live FBI Director Patel testifying, and because we're going to come up some very interesting topics, because I spent the past almost 3 years covering a case where the FBI basically led the charge, but it stayed with the local law enforcement agency, but the FBI was doing everything. And they're running a parallel investigation, and they're doing things and getting things that the local law enforcement didn't go and get because they didn't have probable cause, in my opinion. And then the FBI was feeding them, local law enforcement, Moscow, feeding them this information. And then what is the odds that we're going to have this big, huge case happen literally in Moscow, Idaho? That's the name of the town, right? So if you have been following my work, the FBI was so intertwined, and we have Cy coming out and basically saying that the FBI and Ashley Jennings, liars, wrote an affidavit, and people want to say that he's lying in an affidavit. Why would that be the case that Cy would want to live and die on? Are you kidding me? Why? Do you also know what Cy and Carrie Ray have dedicated their lives to do? To take down predators, pedophiles, right? Yeah. Yep.
I'll introduce today's witness. Mr. Patel has been the director of the FBI since February of 2025. He previously served as chief of staff at the Department of Defense, deputy director of national intelligence with the National Security Council, and also as a congressional staffer, as a federal prosecutor, where he focused on national security cases. And he also worked as a public defender in the state of Florida. We welcome our witness, appreciate his work, and thank him for appearing here today. We will begin by swearing you in. Director, would you please stand, raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God? Let the record reflect that the witness has answered in the affirmative. You can be.
Something here at this channel, I'm just so glad that I saw this last comment because I love it. Hold on. Okay, Kelly, love this. She says, I'm sorry if I offend anyone. Guess what? Your opinions and how you feel, they're never going to offend me. I will be offended, though, if I ask you, hey, why? Or tell me why. I just want to know. It's not for me to judge you. It's if you say something and it intrigues me, or I'm like caught off guard with, oh, hey, tell me more about that. Like, why? And it's not to come at anybody. And I think that's what everybody misses the points on is, dude, everybody has their likes in life. Okay. As long as it's not illegal, how am I going to tell you or be offended by what you like or how does that offend motherfucking me? That's you. So, but I just love to say, I wanted to highlight that. And I want to say, no, I would be the type of person that says, I want to know more, or I'll say like, oh, why? Tell me why. Cause I want to know, like, the more we listen, the more we can find out, the more that, if you're truly listening, you can retain. And I can retain way more shit that if I read it. All right. And I said to myself, I could watch this by myself, or I could watch this on my channel for people that want to learn more. Like every day, I just think that if you're doing something, you're doing it because you love it. You're doing it because you want to know more. I believe in the more educated you are in terms of knowledge is power. And how do you just read? And that fascinated me when I found out that Charlie Kirk read basically 2 books a week. 2 books a week. That's pretty fucking impressive. And we're not talking like Charlie Brown books,
Seated as you are.
Here we go.
You've been through this. You've been through this yesterday. Did a fine job. Please know that your written testimony will be entered into the record in its entirety. Accordingly, we ask that you summarize your testimony. Director, you may begin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Raskin, and members of the committee. I want to begin today by discussing the appalling assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's important for this FBI to be transparent without jeopardizing our investigations. So a little bit of the timeline is important. Charlie Kirk was unfortunately assassinated on September 10th. We immediately, the next day, released images early in the day in local time in Utah to start the public partnership in our manhunt for the assassin and culprits. At approximately 5 p.m. local time, I arrived on the ground and walked the crime scene myself. And we flew multiple FBI assets in and out to process DNA simultaneously while bringing in evidence response technicians, hostage rescue teams, and other experts to assist state and local law enforcement with their investigation. At 8 p.m. local on September 11th, the FBI collected and populated and promulgated at a press conference a video of the suspect on the grounds. We also released enhanced images. Due to that release that I directed and ordered, the suspect involved was apprehended and in custody at 10 p.m. local time. That's less than 2 hours after we did the video release and the photo release. So within 33 hours, that individual suspect was in custody, and his family, who has since been interrogated, specifically stated to FBI interrogators that because of the video that the FBI released at my direction.
Is the link posted? The link should be posted, hon. Sarah, is it not posted? Oh my God, I tagged the wrong thing. No wonder why no one's freaking clicking the line. Hold on. I tagged Sassy. Sorry, guys. Hold on 1 second. You'd think it's a fucking Monday. It is not. Okay. Sarah, that is all my fault, man. Hold on 1 second there, Sarah. Ha. Da 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 da. That is fucking hilarious. Oh my God. Dude, I was wondering, I was like, geez, not all come off at once. Lana, you may need the link, bitch. I am so sorry. I clicked on, is today Wednesday? I thought it was Thursday. Jeez. Okay, let me try this again, Sarah. I'm going to pin the link. Oh boy. Replace pin. Okay, now we good. Oh my God. I didn't wonder why they come on up, Sarah. Hey, do me a favor. I want to hear Kash Patel's answer to this really quick, just because we just heard his little rant. So I'm going to have you up right after this little answer, okay? Perfect.
And because of the photographs that they released, they identified their son. They confronted their son when he swung by their home, and that's what led to his apprehension.
You just said when he swung by their home. Do you see how you can get these little nuggets? Somebody write that down right there. When their son just swung by their home. Write that down. That's very interesting.
Still, the FBI has that investigation ongoing, and it continues to be ongoing. And I want to thank the state of Utah and the state and local authorities there. And I also want to thank the Attorney General and President Trump for directing resources to allow us to conduct that investigation as we have. Under this administration, the FBI has arrested more than 23,000 violent criminals. 23,000 in 7 months. That's twice as many year to date last year. We've taken over 6,000 firearms off the streets. 6,000 guns are no longer in the hands of criminals in 7 months. We've identified and found and located 4,700 child victims. That is a 35% increase year to date last year. We have arrested 1,500 child predators. That is a 10% increase year to date last year in just 7 months. We've assisted our partners with countless counterterrorism operations around the world. We've captured at the FBI 4 of the most top 10 wanted fugitives in the world in 7 months. To put that in perspective, that's as many as my predecessor nabbed in the entirety of the Biden administration. We got 4, we got more coming. On top of that, in 2 weeks, thanks to the help of the CIA, we collected and captured one of the individuals responsible for the horrific Abbey Gate bombing that led to the murder of 13 service members. We did that in 2 weeks. They didn't do it in the 4 years of the entire prior administration. Nationwide, we've been executing our Operation Summer Heat, the FBI's national.
Okay, so I have something to say about this already. Okay, if you are violating our rights, you would be able to arrest way more people, and that percentage would go skyrocketing up. Okay, think about it. If you are violating our rights, also with technology, I would expect our numbers to always increase if we are getting more tools. Okay. So for me, when I hear the percentages, okay, there can be numerous reasons why percentages would go up. And for me, you would have to break down these percentages. All right. Are we talking about percentages in what type of crimes? Okay. Drugs. What are we talking about here? So for me, if you violate our rights, right, you should be able to arrest more people.
Focus on targeting violent crime based on intelligence-driven operations. Ask the citizens of Seattle, Miami, Memphis, Charlotte, Chicago, New Orleans, to specifically highlight New Orleans and Nashville. There has been a 250% increase in violent crime arrests in those cities alone, and other mid-major cities that I've just listed. In just a few short months, we have already unleashed 1,000 FBI personnel across this country. Every single state across this country is getting a plus up. This is a fiction that the FBI is short or that we are compromising the men and women in the field. They do not need to be in Washington, D.C., so we're sending them into the field to each and every one of your states. Because of that, crime is at an all-time low. We had to do it because of the explosion of crime. And maybe the most important stat for Americans to realize, in just 7 months, we are on track to produce the lowest murder rate in modern U.S. history by double digits. Those are results not of mine. Those are results of the men and women of the FBI. If you want to criticize me, bring it on, but do not attack the brave leaders in the field. We are also working 24/7, 365 on the opioid epidemic that is killing more than hundreds of thousands of people a year. We have seen 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl off the streets so far in 7 months. Year to date, 25% increase. To put that in perspective, that's enough to kill a third of the American population, 120 million Americans. 100,000 kilograms of cocaine and meth gone off the streets. Earlier this year, I highlighted in Cincinnati, Ohio, how we're getting creative to chase down those that were willing to do harm to our citizens, not just by striking at the heart of the fentanyl producers, but the fentanyl precursor companies in China. And we indicted for the first time multiple companies and individuals, not just in America, but in mainland China, that are producing the ingredients that produce and make fentanyl that kill our children. And we're going to keep going. Counterterrorism work, cyber attacks, and foreign adversaries are something the FBI must never sleep on, and we are not sleeping. In the counterintelligence space alone, this year, year to date, 30% increase in counterintelligence arrests from the DPRK, Russia, Iran, and China. And I want the American people to know, in this setting, there's a lot of work that the brave men and women in the FBI are doing we just can't get into, but they don't stop. Our cyber threats, ransomware attacks, those harming our children online. We have nearly a 20% increase in indictments arrests in 7 months alone this year. We're going after those that harm our malware, infrastructure systems, telecom systems, and energy structure. Combating SALT and Vault typhoons are just a little bit of the examples we're doing. Maybe most importantly, under the counterterrorism and domestic terrorism umbrella, our nihilist, violent extremists.
All right, perfect. Here we go. We're going to bring in Sarah because we want to talk about the scanner. Sarah, are you ready?
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah. Welcome.
Hey, thanks.
Okay,
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay, so I live in Utah.
Okay.
And okay, so although my husband's a police officer,
Okay.
I was not listening to his scanner. I was just listening to like the Broadcastify app
Yeah.
scanner that I have on my phone, okay?
Gotcha.
And he's not a police officer for that county at all. He's up in Salt Lake. So
Well, aren't
totally
you
different thing.
wouldn't you be allowed to listen to it if he was home and it was on and it's in your house?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and I would expect that. So
Yeah.
make sure you tell your
So
husband that we say thank you for his service.
I will. Thanks for your guys'
Thank you.
support. We love that.
Yes.
So anyway, I was listening to the scanner. So I heard about the shooting and I probably got on, I don't know, within 10 minutes of the shooting happening. And as I was listening to it, after he was shot, there was somebody, this is kind of crazy and kind of a loop. Somebody was going from hospital to hospital. So they were basically trying to find him, trying to find Charlie Kirk. And so they had to start putting like police officers at the entrances of all these hospitals. That was one thing that was super weird. So also I did a FOIA request for the scanner, and I'm hoping I get it eventually for, I think I did it from like 12 o'clock, so 20 minutes before until midnight. So we'll see if I get it. And if I do,
Okay.
I'll share it with you.
It's
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I might have what you're talking about. So what is the time frame that you were looking at?
I think I did 12:20 or 12 o'clock until, so that time frame specifically, it was within the first hour after he was shot.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're okay. You're good. So yeah, and so I want to, like I said, I want to double verify that, but that was roughly, I guess I'm
I'm
guessing.
having a
But
hard time hearing you. Okay, so
Oh.
so it
Here,
just
let
keeps
me-
cutting out. I don't know.
let me go out of my garage. Hold
Okay,
on.
sorry.
No, you're
I
okay.
just want to hear what you're saying because it's interesting. See if that works better.
Okay. Okay, does this work better at all or not really?
I think so.
Okay, just cut me off if it doesn't, and I'll try to take my headphones out.
Okay.
So anyways, so that was one thing that I found really odd. And then pretty much immediately, I would say in the 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock hour,
Okay.
they were looking for a Nissan Armada.
A Nissan Armada.
And yeah, Armada,
Okay.
Armada.
Okay.
And it was like a charcoal gray one. So I found that kind of interesting. And then they were also talking about, I probably shouldn't say the name. They actually gave out a name on the scanner of who I believe was the second person taken into. Yes, and yeah, Sarah Montoya. They were talking about a white car too, but I don't remember what kind, maybe a Dodge or something. They actually put so my boyfriend did tell me that they put an attempt to locate out even on the Armada, even in Salt Lake though. So that's
And it
why
had the
I
same.
brought more
So
attention to that.
if you're saying if it was charcoal, wouldn't that be the same color as a Dodge Charger?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So there was that. And then sorry, my brain's in 20 places. I should have brought my
And
notebook
isn't
out
an
so I could
Armada? Isn't
check.
that like an SUV?
It is an SUV.
Yeah.
Like a smaller one.
Yeah.
Well, no. Oh, no. I was thinking the
It's
Rogue
like an
is smaller.
Explorer, kind of like, but
Yes.
yeah.
So that was interesting. And then, like I said, they actually did put an attempt to locate out on that Armada up in Salt Lake because my person told me about that.
Okay.
So there was that. And then the
How
other
far were
thing
you
was
from,
is
like in Utah where you live? How far were you from the shooting?
I could get there in 20 minutes.
20
15
minutes
to 20 minutes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What was the local
Not very
news
far from
like
me.
that was covering it for you guys there?
I really don't watch the local news.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I try
I
to
mainly just go to YouTube and find stuff. I know.
find, yeah,
That's
and find
crazy.
exactly.
Yeah, I really don't.
Okay. Did you hear anything about a
And
lockdown at
then
all?
so that was what I found interesting in the text messages. No, I didn't hear that there was a lockdown on any part of the city.
Okay.
I didn't hear anything about roadblocks. I didn't hear anything like that. Now, maybe he was just paranoid. I don't know. That's speculating. And he thought that because there were so many cops and FBI and everything else that maybe he just felt that there was personally, but I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
The other thing I found interesting was the person that they were looking for, they did say his name. So I requested that body cam footage of that interaction, but they said that it was at his house in Provo, which is like 30 minutes from me.
Yep.
And that it wasn't like on scene that they talked to him. So that was the second person.
Okay. So they talked to the
So-
guy that so basically, okay, so over the scanner, let's say that Tyler was listening to the scanner. Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if he's listening to the scanner, when did they say over the scanner that they arrested or that they detained the crazy old man with his pants down around his ankles?
Mm.
Do you recall that?
It was pretty immediate, but no, I don't recall it. I don't know if I was on the scanner, like going back, I don't know if I was on the scanner when that took place because I had gone on about 10 minutes later. And I think that happened pretty much immediately.
Yeah. And then okay.
Which is why I requested the scanner because I want to hear what happened in that first.
Did you hear
10
anything
minutes
about
or less.
construction workers in the scanner?
Not to my knowledge, no. Not that I recall.
And then did anybody ever talk about traffic and that they like where's this like the student I remember when we went to school at Cincinnati, if they wanted to, if we were parked in parking garages, they could make it so the parking garage basically even if you put your ticket in to like leave and the arm would lift up, it wouldn't. It couldn't. Like, so if you wanted to be locked down, you could lock down all the parking garages, even if it's like not a garage, but an actual just a parking area that had the I don't know, the
So yeah, I
entry
get what you're
on-
saying. I did not hear anything about that.
Okay.
However, I've been to the campus at UVU before, and I can't think of where they would have one of those. They don't have like a parking garage. It's all outside parking.
Okay.
And I don't believe I actually want to go drive over and kind of see like where they said he ditched his gun based like I'll probably do that eventually.
Yeah.
To see like what that route looks like because it kind of doesn't make full sense to me, but maybe it does. I just need to be on the ground over there,
Okay. And then so what's your take
Yeah.
on the text messages then? What's your big takeaway from those?
I think my biggest issue is just that it's super sketchy that they don't have times on them. I don't get it.
You think
I
it's over
also
2
think that
days,
it was
right?
planned. Yeah, I do. And I think it was planned. I think that if anything, it's like, hey, I'm going to text you about it so that it seems like you have no involvement. Because why else would he say, oh, I'm stuck in Orem, my love, or whatever? So
Yeah.
he clearly knew that he was in Orem when they live. I mean, Orem and where they live is 4 hours away. It's a 4-hour drive.
Orem's a
So-
4-hour drive from
To like down south to St. George or Washington City.
yeah.
So why, like, first of all, that's a long time to just be gone for the day. So what was his reasoning for going up there without the partner knowing?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And then he's like, oh, I'm stuck in Orem. So he knew he was in Orem. And then he said, so I don't know. To me, I just feel like it was kind of he's just trying to
Yeah. Or
play the system a little bit, but I don't know.
if they're leaving out a bunch of the roommates' text messages, right? Is the
Mhm.
roommate already working with the police, right? When it happened, right? And is, are they, is he being instructed on what to say to get him to say certain things? And, but we all
You
know
think
that,
that fast? Maybe, yeah.
well, that data is going to show his location where he was making these text messages from, right?
Very true.
I-
Yeah.
It just, the language that's being used. And if you go back and you read certain things, it's like a cop, like show it to
Oh,
your
totally.
boyfriend, show it to your husband, show the text message and say, is, the language that was being used is total like cop language. Sweet.
Okay.
Like have them just look at the text messages and
Yeah, I will for sure.
it's language that's like cop. But I agree with you with the timestamps. How aren't you releasing the timestamps? Why wouldn't you release the timestamps?
Yeah, I think it's bizarre.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
Yeah.
So, well, I
don't
appreciate
know.
you, Sarah. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Let me know if you get any of if you get anything back on your FOIA request. Come on
I
back
will.
and we'll take a look at it.
I'll let you know for sure. Okay. Awesome.
All right, girl,
Thanks
you
for
rock.
having
Thank
me.
you. Give it up for Sarah.
and those
You'll be going to Arthur
that
next
label
year.
themselves 764
Want to hear a little bit more from Patel,
who
though?
wish to go online and convince children to maim and mutilate themselves and commit suicide. And we are producing record numbers of arrests under that umbrella organization. We even stopped an individual in the 764 network who wanted to conspire to kill an adolescent girl. He is now in custody. Transparency remains one of my main priorities at the FBI. And this is what I've done in my 7 months at the helm. We've produced more than 33,000 pages of documents to Congress to a variety of committees, including, I believe, 7,500 to this committee alone, if memory serves me correct. To put the 33,000 in perspective, my predecessor in 7 years produced 13,000 pages in total to the United States Congress. His predecessor in 4 years produced 3,000 pages in total. I repeat, I have produced 33,000 pages in 7 years to this Congress and will continue to do so. I'm dedicated to restoring the trust and the mission and the integrity of the FBI, and we cannot do so without congressional oversight, and I promise you I will continue to do so. On the Epstein case.
Here we go.
The original sin on the Epstein case was how it was handled by Mr. Acosta when he first brought the case in 2006, 7, and 8. The original case had a very limited search warrant, had a very limited search window, had a very limited investigative window. I was not there when those search warrants and that investigation was launched. I would not have done it that way. They were limited to only 3 to 4 years of investigations from 97 to approximately 2001 and 2002 to 2005. Mr. Acosta allowed Mr. Epstein to enter into a plea agreement where he served weekend jails for trafficking minor women. He also was allowed to relieve jail to go home on the weekends. Plus, he allowed a non-prosecution agreement to be signed as part of that plea deal, prohibiting future investigations from that prosecution and from that evidence, and prohibiting the collection of further material. That is the original sin. We are working with Congress to produce more than any administration ever has material on Epstein. And I welcome the challenge to tell us that we are not being as transparent as the law allows. We even went to court and asked the judges to lift those prosecutorial agreements and to lift those court order seals, and they denied us 3 times. Congress is welcome to do the same and join the fight. And I'd lastly like to focus on operation that the president led in DC. Because of this, we are taking this fight in DC to every single city across the country. 2,100 arrests in the last month alone. DC has seen a 60% decrease in gun crimes, 75% decrease in carjackings, and 53% decrease in homicides in our nation's capital. And rightly so. We're bringing that fight to the streets of America. I want to thank you for your support, and I'm proud to be the director that leads this FBI into a new headquarters building that they've needed for decades, saving the taxpayer $3.5 billion, and also providing our workforce a safe environment. If you don't know the calamity that is the Hoover Building, I invite each and every one of you to walk around. I'll give you a tour myself, and you can see where the cement falls on the heads of our employees that is only to be saved by netting, just to give you an example. Thank you for support to our mission, and I do want to highlight one thing about DC. It's because the FBI gathered sources and evidence that we were able to, through our source network, identify the horrific murder of the DC intern, Eric Tarpinian. And I've spoken to his family, and we are working to bring them justice. And Mr. Chairman, in my 16 years, now my 17 years of government service, if anyone has any questions about my service, bring it on.
Thank you, Director. We will now proceed under the 5-minute rule. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Rice.
5-minute rule.
Director, delighted to have you here.
Okay, so the 5-minute rule, we're going to stop there. Arthur, come on stage. Hi, Arthur. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Good, great. So 13 years?
Yeah, I was in the Air Force for 13 years, and then I got cancer, and I was medically retired.
Oh, well, awesome. Thank you for your service, and I'm sorry to hear about that.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
You doing okay right now?
Yeah. Cancer's gone. Been gone for a couple of years. I'm doing great. Loving life.
That's good
This
to
is
hear.
pretty much my daily life is watching YouTube and keeping up with this kind of stuff. I'm really into all of this. So whatever questions, wherever you want to go, I'm ready.
Okay. So what do you think about the text messages? How do they look to you?
I believe the tech. What's that?
How do the text messages look to you?
Yes, I believe the text messages do look very scripted. I watched another podcast, and the host there was able to correlate the way that they're talking with one of the anime. It's like a fuzzy anime.
Oh, okay. Anime. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. We were just doing a case where we were able to look at Vampire Diaries and then look at some dialect. And now here anime, interesting. Do you know which like
The
my son
podcaster.
knows that stuff. I'm gonna ask him about the anime world.
Yeah, yeah. I have 4 kids. They're all into
There you
that.
go.
There's just so many variations of hentai, anime. Yeah, it's too much for me.
Wow, yeah. Okay. What do you think about since you've been following this, do you have any timelines for when I'm trying to pinpoint down based on what was being said in the text messages to when Tyler could have possibly known of that stuff to be able to like write it, you know? Because you can't write it until it happens. Otherwise, that'd be like a dead giveaway that something's off.
Yes, exactly. I think right now what we're seeing is actually a blend of the information that the FBI is willing to give out, just like they do with homicide cases. And what they're probably trying to do is collect up enough data and information to arrest all of the other co-conspirators with this, all the ones in the online chats. What I find really interesting is in the video, when I watch it, I see him leave something behind on the roof.
Yeah, is that what they're talking about? Like the screwdriver or something?
It looks to be a little bit bigger than a screwdriver in the video to me, but I wonder if someone said the screwdriver could have possibly been used to try to break the barrel down off the rifle. I'm not familiar with that style of rifle, so I don't know if that would work.
Yeah, and we didn't hear anything about that. So it's interesting. What would you think that the reason that the FBI or the Utah prosecutor here, he was asked if he had basically the times, and he's saying that he doesn't have the times, the timestamps. What do you think would be the reason for that he wouldn't have the timestamps?
So there's one of 2 things possibly. He could have been caught with his pants down. He's only allowed to give out whatever information the FBI will allow him to give out. So he could have been accidentally been like, oh crap, I'm not supposed to say this. I have to backtrack and figure out how to get out of it. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I apologize.
No, you're good. Do you think that so something that's crossed my mind is if you need the cell phones in order to like download them to celebrate downloads. So if in fact they were at the same house on September 10th, right? They would be saying to each other, right, that, hey, we're going to destroy our phones, delete our messages, right? Mm-hmm. So why would you then on September 11th write and say, hey, make sure you delete this and then continue on talking about it? After you just had all night on September 10th night, okay.
Yeah, loose lips.
It's like they never caught up with each other or something like that.
Yeah, it definitely seems very suspicious to me. Now, at the beginning of this, did you say that we need the cell phones themselves to collect? If you're going to do
if you're going to do like a download of the phone, you can try to go off of like the iCloud, like a iCloud account.
Yeah.
But
when I was in Iraq, we used a lot of strange equipment. Like we did a lot of retinal scans and like fingerprint scans. But we also worked with OSI, CID, and CIA. And those individuals, they had these really neat repeater boxes that we would carry out there. And they had, a terabyte or 2 terabyte worth of memory. And it would literally, once you turned it on, if your phone had Wi-Fi, it would connect to your phone and it would download everything off your phone right there. So there are ways of getting it off of the phone.
So you're saying without a cord?
Yeah. When I was in Iraq,
you would have to have the phone?
What's that?
So you wouldn't have to have the phone because you're doing everything from the cloud?
Yeah. So, but out there in Iraq, not a lot of people have iPhones or clouds. So it would only do it within a certain proximity. Like it would only have a range of like 100 feet or 200 feet. So everybody within that 200-foot radius, like we would walk next to certain buildings where we thought there were people making bombs.
Yes, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I think that the times, I mean, I think if you're just going to be transparent, if you're going to put out those text messages, that you would just put the times with it. And by not doing that,
what about the 150 million that Charlie Kirk turned down from Israel?
what about that? Yeah.
Am I right that everybody else is hearing about this too?
Yeah, he had turned down a ton of money.
Yeah.
It was AIPAC money.
It makes me think that Israel is funding the armed gay militia and is trying to utilize them to carry out their dirty work like a hit squad.
Yep. And if you notice, like nobody's talking about that. I think the only person that has mentioned it has been, well, as far as somebody that I've watched is Candace Owens has brought that up.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
I want to say thank you so much for joining.
No, thank you. I definitely want to come back on.
Yes. No, I will have you. Thank you so much for being here, Arthur. I'm glad that you found the channel.
All right, then. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, buddy. Oh, dude, he's sweet. And happy to hear that cancer free. That's awesome. All right, a little bit more here with Kash Patel.
You are a breath of fresh air. As you outlined, and I won't repeat it, the accomplishments, you did so with the same resources as your predecessor, roughly. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
And so how much of that has to do with taking people out of the backside of the FBI and moving them into the field, into doing the job for which we primarily pay the FBI?
It's exactly what we needed done. 1/3 of the FBI's workforce resided in the National Capital Region before I got there. 1/3 of the crimes do not happen in Washington, D.C.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So 1,000 personnel of the FBI were deployed across this country on a permanent basis, and every single state in this union is getting a plus up, not a reduction, a plus up of 1811s of intel analysts and support staff. And that is why the crime rates are going down in record numbers.
Thank you for doing that. And you know, it's perhaps the hardest thing for a bureaucrat to do is to lower the head count around them that support them. And I appreciate your willingness to do it different than your predecessor. A lot of what you covered earlier was the find, the discovery, and then the prosecution that is done by the DOJ. But I want to talk a little bit about the prevent side.
On the Charlie assassination, sir?
No, on all of these. Okay, for example, and I'll bring it up before the Democrats bring it up, yeah. January 6th. January 6th, we now know because of your find that in fact there were people involved who were not just observers, but participants who in fact, it's been alleged, and I personally believe, in fact, were part of promoting, perhaps even the one woman who died, encouraging her to walk through a door that led to her death. When you see that kind of activity, and you know it was done under predecessors with full knowledge, whether it's January 6th, where embedded people crossed the line, or any other activity, including obviously the Russian hoax that we're now dealing with up in, front and center. My question to you is, what can you or others do to prevent it from occurring again? Not on your watch, but on future watches. How can we know that this won't happen again the moment you leave the FBI?
It's simple. What I'm doing through our leadership cadre is having FBI agents do what they were trained to do, not what they were not trained to do, not put them in situations that both harm them and the public. We're also utilizing our SORT networks and prioritizing the threat structure to go after the narco traffickers, the counterterrorism people, the counterintelligence threats, and the cyber threats. That's what they were trained to do, and that's what we're letting them do.
One major question I have, after decades of doing this, on our side of it, both the chairman, myself, and others, both at oversight and here, have seen that the FBI and the Department of Justice hide behind non-statutory practices. Now, you've changed the interpretation of many of those practices. That's why we're getting the discovery that was previously withheld. How do we work together to make sure that we never again have false walls, non-statutory walls that say the Department of Justice has a prohibition about giving, quote, you fill in the blank, that has led to the chairman not seeing anything until you took over?
I'm wedded to aggressive constitutional oversight. Having been a House congressional staffer, I know that is an important part of securing our democracy. And the way we make it an everlasting, enduring process is by showing the American people the results of what we are doing and the important work of this committee and putting it out to them so they can see government waste, fraud, and abuse. And then they can demand from our constituents and our electors that they want this process to continue.
Last major question here. Some things are so sensitive that we both would agree they cannot be made public. Will you commit to this committee when it is too sensitive to disclose that you would at least make it available for in-camera review by the chairman and ranking members or others
Great question.
designated?
I have done that and I will continue to do that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a breath of fresh air. This is the beginning of what we need. But my questions today for the director are ones in which I believe that we do need to codify by agreement or by statute if necessary, the kind of openness and transparency that we're seeing from this administration, the kind of discovery that's allowing us to do our oversight properly. And I would hope that
There you go.
the follow-up to this, obviously along with the Attorney General. And I yield back my 4 seconds.
Thank you. Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New York is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Director Patel. In the wake of the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump said, quote, violence and murder are the tragic consequences of demonizing those with whom you disagree, day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible, close quote. I would note for the record that Donald Trump has famously demonized practically every person he has ever disagreed with, and therefore, using his own logic, he has put their lives at risk. I should know Donald Trump continuously puts my life in danger. About 2 weeks ago, when I announced my decision not to seek re-election, many people on both sides of the aisle, including the chairman, offered me well wishes and thanked me for my service. Donald Trump, on the other hand, took to Truth Social to call me a, quote, psychopathic nut job, among other things.
What?
Yesterday, I received a threatening note filled with anti-Semitic comments and hateful attacks that mimic some of the same language used by the president. I'm sure many of us on this committee face similar threats every day. We have seen political assaults on both the left and the right. The attack on Charlie Kirk,
This is live.
the attempted assassination of the president, the murder of the Democratic Speaker of the Minnesota House, the assault on Paul Pelosi, and the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, for example. Director Patel, do you agree that there is political violence from both the left and the right?
There's too much political
Do you
violence.
agree, yes or no, that there's violence?
There is
yes
too
or-
much political violence based on ideologies from either side.
Do you, from either
There you go. There you go. Either side.
side? Okay. Are you aware of the study by the Cato Institute, a well-known conservative group, that found that 69% of the violence is from the right?
I'm not familiar with that
You're
study.
not familiar. Okay. I would commend it to you. Are you aware the administration has threatened to use violence as an excuse to crack down on liberty and freedom of speech?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Are you aware the administration has threatened to use violence as an excuse to crack down on liberty and freedom of speech?
Nobody at the FBI is doing that.
I didn't ask you about the FBI. I said the administration.
I speak for the FBI.
I would like to enter the record an article from today's New York Times titled "Trump Invokes Kirk's Killing and Justifying Measures to Silence Opponents." In the wake of Charlie Kirk's killing, President Trump and his allies have laid out a broad plan to target liberal groups, monitor speech, revoke visas, and designate certain groups as domestic terrorists. Yes, unanimous consent to insert this into the record. Thank you. Politicizing the murder of Charlie King to go after free speech is not a legacy I believe
Who's Charlie King?
Charlie King would have wanted. Moving on, I want to address
Who is Charlie King?
another topic. Politicizing the murder of Charlie King to go after free speech is not a legacy I believe Charlie King would have wanted. Moving on,
What?
I want to address another topic. The FBI has traditionally played a key role in prosecuting public
What the fuck?
officials for corruption. But I fear that at a time when the president is accepting planes from Qatar for his post-presidential personal use, issuing pardons
He
to
doesn't
major
even know
donors,
his name.
and personally profiting from the office of the presidency, the FBI may be abandoning its commitment to investigating public corruption. Since its creation in the wake of the Watergate scandal, the public integrity section has been one of the crown jewels of the Department of Justice, investigating and prosecuting corruption among the nation's public officials and acting as a key safeguard against politicized prosecutions. This section's work has been supported by an elite squad in the FBI devoted specifically to rooting out corruption. But according to reports, the public integrity section has now been decimated, and the FBI's public corruption squad has been disbanded. I would like to submit for the record a New York Times article entitled FBI Dismantles Elite Public Corruption Squad. Yes, unanimous consent? Thank you. These actions are an invitation to corrupt politicians to break the law, since they know that the government is asleep at the switch. Last month, Senator Warren and I, along with dozens of other members of Congress, wrote to you and Attorney General Bondi expressing grave concern over your decision to effectively legalize corruption and politicize prosecutorial decisions. And yes, unanimous consent to enter this letter into the record. Thank you. I don't have time today to walk through all your questions, all of our questions and concerns, but will you commit to answering this letter in short order so that we can understand what factors led to this decision and how it has impacted the ability to hold corrupt officials accountable?
I will review your letter with my team and respond as soon as
You will respond. Thank you. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director, for being here. I appreciate the change in the FBI and the tone since you've been there. We heard the ranking member, however, describe the FBI under your leadership as being resorting to political enforcement and you personally as being paranoid. I would just suggest that perhaps that is the projections of the ranking member himself and not you, sir. I want to refer to something that was said yesterday in yesterday's hearing by Senator Grassley. He said, it's well understood that your predecessor left you an FBI infected with politics. At your nomination hearing, he gave you records, made public records about whistleblowers regarding something called Arctic Frost. Arctic Frost was the FBI case opened and approved by anti-Trump FBI agent Thibault. And Arctic Frost became Jack Smith's elector case. The new records show that Arctic Frost was much broader than just an electoral matter. In fact, it was expanded to Republican organizations. Some examples of the groups that the Ray FBI sought to place under political investigation included the Republican National Committee, Republican Attorneys General's Association, and Trump political groups. In total, 92 Republican targets, including Republican groups, Republican-linked individuals, were placed under the investigative scope of Arctic Frost. On that political list for investigation was one of Charlie Kirk's groups, Turning Point USA. In other words, Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump. It was the vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors could achieve their partisan ends and then properly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus. I'd ask that, Mr. Chairman, that document be admitted.
Without objection.
So I know that this may be under current investigation, but I wish to ask specific questions about this for just a moment. What search tools were used in Arctic Frost to view private communications of targets?
Ooh, good question.
I believe the traditional search tools, search warrants, lawful service of process, and the tools that the FBI has in our infrastructure systems, cybersecurity systems, and counterintelligence systems. But generally speaking, if I may, I want to use this to highlight the fact that I'm continuing my promise to work with Congress to produce documents simultaneously and also conduct ongoing investigations. I'm giving you as much as I can, and I'll give you more when I can.
Thank you. Another question regarding that is, were there any directives from the Biden White House concerning the Arctic Frost investigation?
Were there any
directives or communications from the Biden White House itself concerning the Arctic Frost investigation?
I'll just rely on what was turned over to date, sir.
Okay. So I want to add here, the search warrants that were used included the seizing of a U.S. member of Congress, his phone. I think we all know who that was and how that was taken away and used for political purposes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director. So we'll leave that for a second, and let's go over to the Charlie Kirk case for just a second. Let's emphasize this. How many hours did it take from the assassination to the arrest of the assassin, Mr. Director?
33.
That seems pretty swift, and it was because of the actual release of videos and photographs that you directed to be released, sir.
That's correct. And to put in perspective, the Boston bomber took 5 days, and Luigi Mangione took 5 days.
Was the platform Discord forthright from the start with law enforcement about the shooter's communications on its platform?
Discord, the platform ownership, has been working with our lawful process, and we are obtaining materials from them on a rolling basis.
And I want to get back here to Article Frost for just a second, Mr. Chairman. I'd like the unclassified document from the FBI released to be admitted to the record,
Objection.
and a document from the Economic Times also to be admitted to the record.
Objection.
So I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds. We could go on about the Epstein case. I've got a bunch about that, but I'm just going to let you, if you wish to respond to either of the two vitriolic questioning or statement from the Democrats.
The work of the FBI speaks for itself. It's on showcase here today. Anyone that wants to attack the FBI can attack me, but leave our leadership structure alone. When you have 23,000 violent felons arrested, twice as many as this time last year, the work speaks for itself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. Appreciate your good work, Director Patel. Yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, before you joined the FBI, you railed against it for covering up Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring. Let me refresh your memory with this clip.
Okay, so here's where we'll let it play.
Has Epstein's list, they're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
So you finished that December 2023 interview with a challenge to the FBI and harsh words for Republicans in Congress for not getting the Epstein files out to the public. You can see this clip.
Boy pants, and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are, you said. You emphasized that the president and FBI director each had complete authority to release Epstein's client list. You said Epstein's black book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. Look at this clip.
Same.
This is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
black book?
FBI.
But who?
Who?
That is, I mean,
Oh,
there's.
that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
All right, so you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the black book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the rape and sex trafficking of young women and girls?
The Rolodex, which is what everybody colloquially refers to as the Black Book, has been released.
Oh, no, you're talking about what the journalist got 5 years ago? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you were talking about there,
That's
the black
exactly
book
what I
under
was
the direct control of the FBI director.
We have released more material than anyone else before. The Biden administration, Obama administration had the exact opportunities to release this material, and they never did. And if you are selling the men and women of the FBI,
Why
we're
have you
not going after
changed your
child predators.
position?
Hang on, you said we're not going after child predators. 1,500 child predators arrested this year, 35%
Okay,
increase,
I'll reclaim my time.
4,700 child
Mr.
victims
Chairman, I'm going to
found.
reclaim my time if you could instruct the witness. Why have you changed your position? There you were saying it's under the direct control of the FBI director and all of it should be released. Why have you changed your
Everything
position?
that has been lawfully permitted to be released has been released. And as I told you,
Really?
the investigation was limited. And let me make something crystal clear. I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic other people, other women, and they're not other victims. This is the investigation we were given from 2006, 7, and 8, and the search warrants from 2006, 7, and 8. That's what we're working with.
Well, wait, have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to
Which
release.
court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said.
We're
there are
talking about the
3
evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any
We're talking
idea
about
how the
evidence-
law works?
Wait.
Do you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No, I want you to
satisfy
follow your own
curiosity?
word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the black book.
And everything I have direct control over, we have gone to court. You haven't.
Complete
You
your
went
sentence.
to court.
Everything you have direct
We-
control over, you
we
said.
Have gone to court, and everything we have direct
Director
control
Patel,
over.
complete your
and
sentence.
can
You said everything-
lawfully
I'd like to
release,
the
we're
gentleman-
releasing.
He'd like to complete his answer.
You began the sentence, everything you have direct control over, and then you stopped that sentence. You've released everything that you have direct control over?
And I have direct control over and can lawfully release. If you're not familiar with the court orders, that's not my fault.
Oh, I'm
Go look
perfectly,
at them.
I'm perfectly
to
familiar
court.
with them.
Damn.
Well, how did we prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell?
Yes.
She was prosecuted with the investigatory material that was collected from 2001 and 2005 because of the non-prosecution agreements and the court orders on the investigations and search warrants. We were not able to develop new information. And oh, by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was out for 12 years and the Obama and Biden administration did nothing to look at his work, his pedophile network. If you want to blame me, that's fine. But now you're blaming the men and women who conducted this great search.
I'm not blaming anybody other than you. You're not keeping your word. You said that you would release all of the materials
Has
under your
anyone
direct
released
control.
more information on Epstein than I have? Has anyone?
Much more.
Did Comey, did Ray?
Much
Did
more.
they?
Excuse me. Much more has come out in the days since the American people and Congress have been demanding it. But it's coming out in dribs and drabs. Why don't you just release the entire file as you promised to do?
I literally just told you there are multiple federal court orders. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity. You didn't join us when we filed court to release the court orders. You could have. You have lawyers. You could have shown up. You didn't do that.
That's a tiny fraction of the material we're talking
That is
about.
not.
It is a tiny fraction.
How do you know that? Have you seen everything?
It's all misdirected.
How do you know
Time
that?
of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from California is recognized.
All right.
Thank
And
you.
on that
Mr. Director,
note,
just to be clear, how many of the Epstein files were released in the 4 years of the Biden administration?
0.
And how many have you released?
I don't have the number, but it's got to be thousands of pages of stuff.
I was going to ask you.
all right, that's where we're going to leave off. Please come back and join me after the lunch hour. We're going to pick up where we left off. Whoa. Nothing but projection and deflection. To the transparency, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much to Sarah coming up, Arthur coming up. The link will be back in chat here just after lunch hour. Peace out. I got to get this internet fixed.